think if I reflect on my career over what is now 35 years, I don't think that there was a time that I aspired to be a CEO. And I don't think that that's a problem either, because over a career of that length, I was really focused on experience and adding value and having my girls and raising a family and getting a sense of accomplishment about what I was doing. And, through that time at Qantas, I had multiple roles over 3 decades. And I took actually every opportunity that was given to me. And that enabled me to move sideways many, many years. About a decade, actually, I had 3 roles which were sideways moves, but those moves were across the organisation, out of finance, and giving me the experience to have a whole lot of different disciplines, whether it be operations, whether it be logistics, customer, marketing, offshore experience. And that, at a point in time, I realised was an incredibly important part of the skill set that I was developing. I was becoming a generalist in that regard rather than a specialist. And that was what I think now, and if I reflect now on the role that I'm in now, how grateful that I am that I had that breadth and that experience when I stepped into the CFO role. And I hadn't been in finance for 20 years or in our finance role. And I was really excited about the opportunity, but also a bit nervous because of that. And the CFO role is pretty important, and it's a market-facing role. That was the time where I felt my leadership was tested the most. And that is where I learned a lot about leadership and trust in your team and how important that is, because being in very senior roles, you can't do it by yourself. You don't have all the answers. And my reflection is that was the moment that really taught me the most, that prepared me the most for the role I've got now. When I thought about, did I want to be the CEO? For me, it was about what could I add? And one, the privilege of being considered was enormous, but the reason why I was really motivated to do it was because I could see that I could add value, and I'm so passionate about the company that the motivation was there to be a leader for what is this next chapter that we're in. If I reflect on my career, there's been so many people that have influenced me, and they probably might not know themselves that they've influenced me. So for me, in my journey, there were definitely 2 women that played an incredibly important role at a pivotal time, I think, in my maturity, because there were times in my career that I had self-doubt, that I had lack of confidence, and these women were incredibly generous with their time, with their support, with their belief. The one mentor who would never have known that she really motivated me was my primary school principal, who made a really unpleasant comment to my mother when I was moving from year 6 into year 7 into a very intellectual girls' school, and how she thought that I was going to really struggle in that transition. And I remember standing next to her, and she ignited something inside me, which was, even to this day, serves me well, which is just constantly kind of a drive and a fire to prove her wrong, actually. There are always, I think, in anyone's life, those moments where you can take them in a positive way and use that for momentum and drive, or you can use that in a negative way, which can actually sap confidence and can sap your motivation. So a mindset is also really important in a career, and being able to convert the hard conversations or the negative interactions that you might have into motivation and positivity, I think is really important. I think the biggest surprises for me were, one, I think how much I enjoyed the role of connecting with people. I have had roles where I've had large teams, but not a team of 30,000, which is across the Qantas and Jetstar group. And I just, every day, are amazed at the passion and the capability and the experience that it is across the Qantas group. And I love interacting with our people. I love being in their workplace. But I also love the role that I've got and the leadership team I've got around me in being able to make a difference in their lives, create a sense of pride and a sense of belonging in what they do for the group, and being able to make the decisions, listen to them, how we can make their environment better, but also the position of a CEO and that leadership team can do something about it. And so that's what motivates me probably more than anything in getting out of bed every day is how we can actually chart that course to this, exciting future that we've got together. A successor, a CEO, they've got to have a combination of things. They've got to, first and foremost, I think, have the motivation, the vision of, charting the next course. They've got to have the balance of emotional intelligence, but also the, intellectual capacity to manage sophisticated and complex businesses. I think that's really important. But most of business these days is around getting the best out of your team. And I think if somebody was to say to me, what is the most important quality? It's about having humility. It's about having a character that listens rather than speaks. It's someone who knows that the combined value that comes by lifting a team around you is what's going to get the greatest value than actually you being the smartest person in the room. And I think that they are the best leaders, and they will be the best leaders of the future. My career has been made through opportunity, experience, situations where I've failed, situations where I've been at the low of the lows because, that negative self-talk or you're at a moment at a low because you don't feel confident. But if I went back, the only thing I would say to myself is don't be so hard on yourself. Take the time to build friendships, invest in your friendships from school, uni. Take the time to be with your kids. Don't feel guilty. Either way, don't feel guilty if you're at work. If you're not with your kids, don't feel guilty that you're not at work when you are with your kids. And, I suffered from that. But I think that that's just the balance that all working parents have. And it's natural and it's human and it's real.